So, welcome, Purva. Such an honor having you here. Thank you so much for taking time out and being here with me.
It's more like my pleasure, and I definitely enjoy your company. So, really happy to be on this podcast and sharing this with other people because we've had good conversations before.
Yeah, I always admired our conversations while we are enjoying our meal and enjoying the dosa that uh, we enjoy together. So, thank you for your time, your wisdom, your ability to share those stories and experiences. And with that, the gracious that you are. So, lots and lots of gratitude to you.
My pleasure to you, and thank you for the company. I'm really excited for this podcast, and I hope there's something meaningful for everybody who's listening.
I'm sure you will create the magic, and as I said, I'll be very happy to be a witness to that. So, Purva, let's dive into this conversation. Would love to hear. I personally believe that the initial years of one's life play a very vital role in helping that person become who he or she is. Just curious, what are those few episodes of your life which have helped you become who you are? The entrepreneurial, the go getter, the proactive, the kind hearted person that you are.
Thank you. I think that's really nice of you to say. Most of my initial life, and I would say and what forms me, comes from my experiences in school, experiences of, being brought up in a very, very warm environment by family, by, caregivers. And definitely for any individual, I think the formative years are extremely important because those experiences shape you. And in the end, I think, not even in the end, in continuity, in fact, you are a sum of your experiences and inexperiences both. So a lot many things. I have grown up in a very middle class family. From there, I mean, and one where parents aspire you to have the best education. So I was in an international school where they would make ends meet to have me and my sister go with that education. And while I was in that school, very proactive, always involved in co-curriculars. You would see me on the stage, would always have a bunch of friends around, and um, I think that has been me, right? And most of my family have been people who would go out, would explore the world, and I think those experiences would also help me because you would get friends at home who you would host from all over the world. Learn to know what a global perspective is while you're very young, and learn about different cultures, different backgrounds. Definitely at a very early age, I think I was in 10th class when I started working, in fact. And that was because, people outside take you for not, I mean, ageism is not an issue. It takes you for your skills. So I remember making presentations for busy people and then getting my pocket money. Eventually, my cousins went to study abroad, and then I would do their homework very cleverly in India and charge them in dollars and enjoy the conversion ratio. So one assignment I remember still, I used to charge $100, and very smartly I would call up Just Dial because you press 2 8 times and then you get a tutor on call who you could pay $2,000 to get the assignment, and $8,000 at that time used to be my profit, and I would give that assignment back to people overseas. And that has been me, very entrepreneurial
From the very
in the
beginning
right or
itself.
wrong sense for the pocket
Yeah,
money.
yeah. So, from being entrepreneurial from the very early stages of your life to seeing what it means to be born and brought up in a very middle class family to finding your path and getting education in London. The journey continued, and a couple of years back, you started your entrepreneurial journey formally. Would love to double click on that, but would love to understand your exposure to money. Because as an entrepreneur, you spoke about charging $100 and dialing Just Dial. I'm sure something would have happened before that as well. That would have exposed you to the complete concept of money.
Outsourcing.
Tell me more about that.
No, I don't know how I figured out that you could outsource your work, get it from overseas. I think that a lot of companies use this model. But my experiences of money, when I'm going back right now, and it's tough to think about it like this, but definitely I always had a good luck, and that's where Good Good Piggy is also, I
Mm,
mean, I've seen those things, and Now that I see my nephew and I see younger kids today who are very different, pandemic babies, etc., there is a difference that I noticed. For our time, I still remember there used to be a concept where mom would give us $10 and would say, go out and shop. And you would go out and get bread. It used to be for $8, 2 rupees used to be left with you, and then you would not give it back to parents, you put it in your piggy bank. So I think money experiences for me were, if I remember, my first step was from that. And that's your jaida, that's your wealth. It's something you're so possessive about. And I still remember not being very comfortable in giving it to a bank.
Mm,
When you're very young, and people would explain you this, but you wouldn't want to listen. But I was very aware. My father comes from a finance background, and he
mm,
always wanted to raise daughters who understood money and finance, because in the end, it's a life skill,
mm,
and very often not we would realize it, even with having to, go for education overseas in my masters. And I mean, I still remember I was selected to be in Narsi Munji, which was a big deal in my undergrad. But
mm,
I said, maybe I don't want to do it. I'd rather go for Delhi University, which is friendly on the pocket, but maybe look at masters when you know the world slightly more and you're ready to
mm,
go for it. And that still came from an education loan, right? And even entrepreneurship is a different decision. In all true
mm,
sense, I think my parents have been very, very supportive of raising kids who understand that life skill, who value it.
mm,
And over the years, I think, apart from being aware and I think proactive in that field, where I think I was an undergrad, doing exams where I was certified by the National Stock Exchange of India,
mm,
uh, to being that aware financially. And now I think trying to change the narrative, because I realize that India is in the next 5 years will have the most number of kids.
mm.
And it's a very different world for them right now in terms
Yeah.
of experiencing money and rather not even seeing it.
Mm. Very interestingly, you're talking about parenting and my personal limited experience of parenting, having exposed to different parents who are parenting their children at different stages of their lives. I'm yet to define parenting in the best possible ways that goes well with everyone. Very curious to understand from you, Purva, what is it that they did or didn't do that allowed you to tap into your gifts, your talents that you have been able to utilize today as well?
For sure. I if I think about it, right, parenting has no definition. I mean, trying to define parenting, I think there is no one size fits all. Everybody is
Exactly.
at boat for the first time, right? Maybe for the second time or third time, whatever it is. But every time the journey is very unique. It's never a same. I mean, it's never similar. From at least what I've read and dissected scientifically, I really
Mm,
understand that it is so much not one size fits all, because it depends on where you come from, what your
mm,
background is, what kind of economic status you have, what your nutrition is, where you're geographically based. So many things that would, be factorial to what parenting as an experience would be, your
mm,
personal relationships as a family factor. So there is never a standard which you can set with parenting. It has to
mm,
be customized, and it will always be customized because it's a reflection of how you'd like to raise your child.
mm,
On and off, I think what made me to who I am today
mm,
also comes from experiences where, my parents have always been the one who would like to empower you in the direction and
mm,
then also push you in the direction. So clearly remember, I think my father standing always as a backbone, my mother standing as a backbone, in terms of asking us to go do and fulfill whatever you want to believe in. And not just that, but then push us towards the fact that, if you're going for an experience, you're coming back with valuable reflections.
mm,
And I think that definitely helps. And no more do I see parents and younger parents who I innovate for at all coming from the CBSE curriculum mindset, etc. Right?
mm,
Now I believe, and especially the new parents that I observe, are very open to letting children evolve, to
mm,
find their path, and in fact be non-bookish enough to curate knowledge and curriculum for their kids, right? Where
mm,
open learning or at home learning or going beyond the curriculum that is recommended by school is often encouraged by parents today. And
mm,
why so, that I think about it, and what is the difference between these two generations, I believe is the axis where the current generation of parents mostly millennials, I would say, are
Mm.
all social media users, are
Yeah.
all living lives paycheck to paycheck, are all themselves in a very busy format and nuclear setups. And to my understanding, they also understand that, parenting now should be very open, liberal, as well
Mm.
as in a situation where it's also easy and convenient for them, right?
Mm.
Because it's a very, very different world altogether when it
Mm.
comes to tech involvement.
Just out of curiosity, just to take a deeper dive into your life, if you may, Purva, who are you closer to, mom or dad?
Oh, both for two different reasons. I've been a very clever kid. I definitely know who to go for what reasons, and that is with everybody in life. So, if it has to be about gathering personal emotional strength, then definitely my mother, who would tell you to be stronger, to be an iron person, and be out there bold and strong, and to find a very intelligent, intellectual understanding of how to deal with situations. I think my father, and then there are other people in my life as well, who are close friends and family who are, I would say, consultants on different tracks of life. I would say no
Yeah.
single person.
So let's say the next 4 minutes is a tribute to your father.
Uh-huh.
What would you convey to him that you have not conveyed? An episode from your life
Mm-hmm.
that you're so grateful for your dad.
I think that will be really, really nice. I would haven't ever thought of it like this, and neither have we paused in life to reflect and thank. But I think thank and the 4 minutes will be all about gratitude because I've seen him, and he says this often not, and when they say that, mothers generally take you and they nourish you for 9 months and then, they raise you. Whereas I think it's not the 9 month journey for the father. He's always in years trying to make sure that you are well nourished and well kept. I think for my dad, I've always been, the girls. I would definitely in these 4 minutes offer gratitude to him, and I think would uh, thank him for every night that he has made hard and he's not slept well in trying to make it better for me and my sister. So I think there's a lot of gratitude that goes by, gratitude to be able to keep aside all of those aspects and still be a very, very happy person around us, to
Mhm.
never let that come in front of the family. So I think that has
Yeah.
been him. It has not just been that part of him, but also a person who has been very, very, um, I would say, open out of his own minds and comfort to let us go and explore the world. So if I wanted to probably, if I would say not very far, but live from Delhi and Gurgaon just for a few hours in peace of mind to focus better, he would always be supportive. So the fact that he would let you take your own decisions and then in all his comfort, whatever and however he could back me and my sister, that has been his way. And uh, the best part I would say is he would not stop you from making a mistake. And that is the beauty of parenting, right? He's not an overprotective father. He's somebody who let you
Mm.
make the mistake, but uh, not be enough that you fall down hurt. You'll always be able
Yeah.
to step back.
Always
So
there standing next to you and yet will not be overprotective.
yeah, not at all.
Always will go through sleepless nights and make sure that you are sleeping in comfort. Picking up another chapter of your life, a couple of traits that you see in yourself that people appreciate in you, people admire you for, and you know that's a gift from your mother to you.
Oh, I think boldness. I'm not a person who would think on what the world thinks, but rather, go for what I believe in. So even, for example, the Shark Tank episode where, there is an innovation that you're trying to build, and then there are some people who don't believe in you and don't believe in you on national level, right? The fact that it never deterred me, right? Because I would understand what is in between the lines for them to be reacting that way. And that comes from my mother. She never ever lets us, succumb to what the world would say. Though there's a lot about her where she would definitely succumb to society and what society would say. I would say that's any Indian parent. But in general, not let you ever put your potential down or your thoughts down, but stick to what it is. So I've never ever, I mean, they say that uh, stereotypical parents don't ask men to cry. I've always had my mom saying, as a girl, I should never see you crying. You should be stronger than anybody else. So she would definitely not mind a man crying, I would say, but never ever see. So she always tells that, girls should be tougher. They should be much tougher in the world because it's a tougher world for women. So I think that acknowledgement to see strength, and I
Yeah.
think that strength is something that I offer to anybody around me and everybody around me, especially if you're a woman in different facets that where India is. I think you have
Mm.
to be much tougher.
Yeah. Like mother, like daughter. You know, every time when we talk about mother, I think what I have learned from my mother is her ability to be um, grateful to the world. And I often use this word shukrana very, very often. I'm sure you would have heard me using that word. I think that's what I've learned from my mother. The dignity, the patience, the resilience I've learned from my mother. And on the other hand, there are certain times when I get into arguments with my father for the different um, ways of looking at the world, from where he looked at the world when he was growing up, from where I look at the world. But I think the basic values of making sure that uh, I need to respect a human being for who he is rather than what he does. The basic values of giving, generosity, kindness, maintaining relationships. I think that's what I've learned from my father. You spoke about Shark Tank. You spoke about being bold. We would be clicking into that world as well. But before that, would love to hear from you. What were those different turns that you took before you entered the world, before you entered the ocean of entrepreneurship? The other day, you were talking about picking up a couple of jobs, both in India and in London. Would love to hear your experiences of being an employee before you started creating employment for the world.
Yes, I think, and I'm very fond that, I mean, I'm very glad that that experience came about. I started very young to work, I think, and I was very excited to do internships. My first internship was at BDO, which back then used to be the seventh largest. I don't know what the ranking now is, the seventh largest accountancy firm in the world, and they were just hopping up in India. So they were just doing their third expansion, and India was on their cards. And that was a very, very small setup where I joined them. I think my vertical had 15 people. To when I left after 1.5, 2 years, 2 years, I think working in BDO, we were almost 200 people in risk divisions. I was working in risk advisory. And having said so, it was a very good time to consult. And very early in my life, I think the first 2 years of my undergrad, I realized that big companies, huge companies who are leaders in their industries are all the same from the inside. There are these few processes, these few things about all of them. Their trade might be different, but overall, if you look at the systems, the processes, the controls inside, they're all the same. And I could look at it from the angle of risk very early,
Mm,
from audit, from looking at from testing and designing control systems and processes. And that was my formative or first step. And at that time I was also simultaneously studying, doing certifications in finance, and I realized that there is a step beyond this. And I remember clearly when I was going for this internship, my father telling me, I'd like you to come back with three answers. I don't remember the third question, but the two were how far you want to go in finance and how vast is finance and where you want to go, and what kind of appetite in the end you have in terms of your leadership ability, where in the hierarchy you'd like to say it's okay for you. So three things. First, understand the breadth, the length, and then your hunger. And I realized very fast that I would like to go more front facing. So I picked up management consulting, took my
mm,
pivot, started putting up international desks for a management practice, and was working with International Trade Council of India. And that international exposure, then I was like, I want to be even more frontline into strategic decisions for companies. And I decided to do my investment banking masters in
mm,
London. And it was great because I was now back to an academic setup, redeeming myself from all the work environment that I'd had rigorous, years of consulting in Gurgaon and working there. So yeah, I think when the academic bit came, it was very interesting because I started enjoying it to a level
mm,
where there was a dean award which would come in, gold, and some sort of awards, etc., always happening in university, and you're always there on the front side. to then getting the right to work in UK for a
mm,
private equity investment advisory company. And at the same time, I would still not wait. So if it's a December break, I'd go to Canary Wharf, find a tech company. I
mm,
still remember a VC who was trying to do VC tech and consulting for them, working for them, still finding time. I realized that, one of my things I'd like to do in life would be to write a book, but not write a book for the heck of writing a book, but writing a book which would be of value. So in my free time, I think in the pandemic, I also reached out to a couple of editors and see if I could start learning how to read in between the lines in finance, and also have the chance to get all of the news first. So I joined a publication which was for institutional investors and started writing there in private equity.
mm.
Uh, for the fact that there was a larger goal to start understanding how to write per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot many things. In between also then the pivot was when my professor recommended me to join Kairos. He said about this
Mm,
program, and there was enough uh, curiosity in my plate to go and see if I would be in that niche community of young people who would get
mm,
trained to look into impacts, problems, and situations in the world. And I think that there was a brainwashing that was done in the program,
mm.
where the best people came inside talking to us about big problems in the world and how we could think about scale and start think about change. And from there
And
came a 70 pager.
that was the defining moment of your life,
That was the pivot to
right?
entrepreneurship.
Also, you mentioned, and of course, we will get into that space because that's extremely important when you spoke about Kairos last time, or when you're speaking right now as well. I could sense that how that has played a very vital role. But I'm also curious is because last time you mentioned that you joined all these organizations, you approached all these people to understand how the industry works, how to read between the lines, how to write in the editorial columns. You joined different internships to pick up the skill set and the traits, and never for money.
Never
And
for
you are building an organization in the fintech. How do these two things connect, if they do?
money, because there was a clear thing from my father, right? He would always tell me not to think about money, go and learn. I
Hmm,
think it's very clear that as long as you're learning, you will definitely earn money. Trust me about that.
hmm,
And even so that you say, if you want money from me to continue learning, please take it, because rather you go to a school and pay for fee, you go and learn experiential learning. And that's where even when I joined video, I never asked them to pay me any stipend. It came.
hmm,
It came to a level where I think as an undergrad student, I was taking 15,000-20,000 rupees. It was a big deal for me. But I
hmm,
never asked for stipend. Never did I ask for stipends or for salaries when I was in London or anywhere else. It just gradually comes. For the entire year I was writing those editorial columns, I never asked for a single penny. When I was leaving the last day, they said, we'd like to transfer money to you. And then, in the pandemic, suddenly there were a lot of pounds coming my way, which were
hmm,
translating into rupees and coming into investment for Good Good Piggy, but never ever chasing money at all.
hmm, hmm.
The fact is that you chase learning and then everything follows.
Yeah.
And, and
Also, as I'm just listening to you, that how you picked up different skill sets, different traits, be it your relationship with VCs and working with them, or your ability, your willingness, I would say, to learn how to write and how to learn auditing and how to understand finances. It reminds me of what Steve Jobs said when he said that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can
Correct.
only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. And that's exactly what you're talking about, that I never worked for money. And in some bits and forms and shapes, I can relate with that because I'm an engineer, started my journey after my MBA, started my journey with a bank, worked there for that bank as a management training. And very soon I realized that's not what I want. Said goodbye to them, joined another KPO, worked there for some time, said that's not what I want either. And there came a time when I left everything before I got into executive coaching. I used to host shows like a master of ceremony. I would go and jump on stages while somebody's celebrating the fifth anniversary or 25th silver jubilee, right? That was funny. And they would ask me, what do you do? And I'll tell them, I'm an engineer. So what are you doing here? They could never understand. But today, when I look back, I can understand how they connect. And that's exactly what Steve Jobs said, that you have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever you call it.
But I will also say one part. No, there was a part of where professionally I would never run for money. I will always learn for learning.
Mm,
But then in early in my life, I was also a person who would want money, but for personal pleasures and goals, like for example for travel, etc. And that's where I would push my bar. So I remember clearly, going and volunteering, going and leading. So Jaipur Literature Festival, I think, is Asia's largest literature festival. So going there, leading a team of 30 people, and then later them realizing that you're only 18 years old and these are all 25 years old who you were
mm,
leading for the last 3 days. But I think all of those experiences, there was a part where I'm never asking for money professionally, but there were a lot of places where you would enjoy and build your soft skills. So soft skills,
mm,
hard skills, technical skills, I think they all come up and they shape who you are. So you asked me, there has been places where, just for, I mean, money is very important. It's a life skill, like I said.
mm,
So if it is for you to fulfill your personal goals or your professional goals in and all, you will still require it, and there will be a part where to get there, it requires a comprehensive, a wholesome approach about yourself, about your team, about your organization, either or. And no experiences go waste, whether it is about you building any sort of skill set or competency. And that includes definitely soft skills. It includes, in context of corporations and a brand or a culture, while you would still have a business model. And that is what I
mm,
would, I mean, there was a bias I would definitely see in VCs for that matter,
mm,
right? But you come and you evaluate companies corely based on projections, based on number crunching, based on a model, based on
mm,
industry analysis, competitor analysis, etc., etc. But I
mm,
would always find an element missing in that evaluation, which would never define what the culture of the organization is, what the quality of leadership is, what and trust me, talk about companies or businesses who might have two or three things missing, and there might not be a 10 on 10, but
mm,
still sail their boat and park it to shore because they have other qualitative factors which
mm,
are there. So, I mean, I've been very vocal in the technical sense as well in the VC community while I was in London, etc., saying that, look, I know you follow models to park investments, but there is still
mm,
a factor which comes out of looking beyond statistical numbers.
mm.
That is narrative. You can't
Yeah,
at all, and it's a difficulty to measure it.
I think that is one of the most difficult challenges that the startup ecosystem is facing. We are talking about numbers, we are talking about data, we are talking about, as you mentioned, industry
So there,
analysis, but
Gaurav, you will definitely only see it, maybe if you had to see it as a number, as part of goodwill. If it had to be looked in a balance sheet, you would probably find it there translating into that gap where it is looking at goodwill. But when you go into valuations, etc., then you will remove intangible assets,
mm,
because
mm,
then they don't have value
yeah,
there. So is there a bias? And look at the fact that today, unfortunately or fortunately, I would say with the digital world, the economy is largely of intangibles, right?
mm,
Where the first thing you can do is easily create brand asset and IP, and that brand will be of really high value in the digital sense
mm,
because we're all tech first. But you take that value to a bank and you will not get a loan,
yeah,
right? And that's the gap. That's the
mm,
gap
mm,
where
mm,
I still feel that there
mm,
are rising intangibles
yeah,
and there's
yeah,
an intangible economy that has shaped up,
yeah,
but it's very difficult to value, and it is actually very, very, very much
mm,
money.
yeah, yeah. So let's change the gears here, Purva. Would love to hear your experience of the defining moment that you spoke about. What was the scenario? How did you get into that? How did you seize the moment? How did you identify that's the defining moment of your life? And how did you shift your gears to get into what you are doing right now?
Hmm. So I was again part of the pivot or the transition. Entrepreneurship was never planned. The fact that I was in a perspective to continue in a job and to have a good career in investments or the PE space, to going for that program which is powered by Bill Clinton, Richard Branson, and they bring in a lot many talented people to deliver the program. The fact has been that when I went there, I realized that, while you're looking for prosperity in life, there's also passion, and then there's also purpose. And then, things should be in the center if you want to go for a good space. But that was not all, right? I'm a person who then, even when I took entrepreneurship, took a calculative risk. I understood that there is a capital requirement for to pursue an idea. And I realized that I could, uh, if not put my own money or put a bit of it, there's still a larger requirement that I would need for me to sail. Can I find the right partners who would like to co-build it with me? And I found the venture builders who like the idea. There are angels who loved the idea, and our convertible note was 200% oversubscribed. To even then realizing maybe I'm not full time right now, and that despite all of that, right, and the fact that entrepreneurship is a possibility, one thing was clear, that let's pursue it in a calculated manner, because you don't want to regret saying what if. The what if it turns out well, what if it doesn't turn out well, right? So both ways, for me, it was a very, very sound decision to understand that we have to go for it and see if I find support for it. As long as there is support, there is ecosystem support, you're on the right path, and let's build. And you understand a time when you need to take a full-time pivot. Now, when is that time, and how you get there? I really started gunning for feedback. Now, I started going into competitions, going into, all of those events that keep happening, and start sending my startup there just to see, not to see us win the prize money or to win an award, but just to get very intelligent feedback. And clearly, I think we remember, being the only Indian startup in Sharjah as a finalist in UAE for an investment. Of course, we didn't get the investment, but being there, getting the right, that was evidence. It was evidence where Japan covered us as Next Leaders 2021, where people in Geneva were caring to do an interview and talk about, and all of this is success because you're on a concept stage where, yes, you have somebody co-building it with you, you have some angels to back you up, and then you are reaching places. Same time around, we were 4 months old when Shark Tank came in, and suddenly you are one of those 85,000 startups who applied on just an idea, 4 months old. And that's when you realize maybe this is worth taking it full time, and this is the time you pivot, because you don't want to regret saying what if you had not, or had, or you did it. And that's how it has been exactly. It's just been a year from that
mm,
space. But to me, and I also recognize a bias here. So
mm,
I know for a fact that women go through imposter syndrome, and I definitely notice it in me. I'm self-aware to notice it, where you want more validation to take that leap. And I remember doing a competitive analysis and seeing,
mm,
all the other people who were in this space, in the children banking, wallet and banking space, were all men who were really old, etc. Only two women, one Mariana in Mexico, Go Henry's founder Louise Hill in UK, and nobody as a solopreneur or, as an individual in this space. And I said, do I really
mm,
want to do it? I'm hardly, like, I'm 25 years old. I don't have a lot of experience. I don't have white hair to say I want to make a fintech. Neither do I have
mm,
capital, nor all the more it's a man's world, entire banking. Do I really want to do it? And the answer then, and
mm,
like we said a lot about parenting, was this is the reason why you should do it.
mm,
Because this is
mm.
the reason why you'll find all the support, and you will be the
Yeah,
fresh
yeah.
breath of air.
Just let me just take one step backwards here. What led you to come up with this idea of Good Good Piggy?
Hmm.
What was those scenarios that you have witnessed? What happened in your family that you realize that now, today, there is a need for this idea? There's a need for this concept. And how did you come up with this name? Good, good, Peggy.
Awareness, okay. So awareness to see around you. I remember bringing a piggy bank for my nephew from London
Mm,
on this trip where it was my parents' silver jubilee.
mm,
And I gave him, I thought it'll be nice. He's starting to learn numbers and all that stuff. Now he went around asking people to put coins in it, but nobody had coins because we are all on digital mediums. We're all on a Paytm, etc., and cards and all not what, but nobody's scanning coins on.
mm,
So this is where for the first time I realized, okay, India's changed.
mm,
And I mean, in investment, I was in a research profile. So then I started putting my skills to work.
mm,
Also, Kairos helped with design thinking, with structures. So I never ever undervalue structures. I never ever undervalue frameworks. They definitely help you decode a problem statement and find a solution.
mm,
So this is where that was when I observed my nephew, I saw that there's a fact that he's not valuing money, that there's touch sensitivity. The moment you ask for it, he wants things to get fulfilled. My comparison to my childhood was, things were very different, and
mm,
we would wait, we would have some sort of delayed gratification. Then you hear stories from your parents saying, you guys were like this, hamara zamana was very
mm,
different. Yeah.
mm, mm,
So generationally, I realize everybody has experienced childhood very differently. But what
mm,
is it that changed? Well, how did childhood change? And the
mm,
answer is it's technology that changed childhood. So my
mm.
parents would talk about how they would go all the mile to watch a black and white film. My
Yeah,
parents
I
would
love
talk
it. I
they
love
would
it when you say it's a technology that can change the childhood. Yeah.
100%. Right? Look at
Mm,
entertainment now, look at entertainment of the future. So my parents would say that for them entertainment was on television. I would say entertainment for me was on iPod, and all those new things were in on the internet, etc. For the new kids, you ask them, their entertainment is very different, and they are looking into VR, AR, and all lot of new stuff coming their way.
mm,
So I think it's technology, and the new generation today is the most tech supplied generation in human history. And
mm,
a lot many things then came my way where, because of structure, etc., I started unraveling this problem statement, and that's how we discovered Good Good Piggy, and the name came, in fact, from observing again.
mm,
I realized how are parents and kids talking today. Where and how do you build that gratitude and shukrana in your life, right?
mm,
Uh, so when you see kids coming and telling about something great they did in their life, for example, maybe they just colored well, right? And they come and want to share that with their parent. Parents today are super busy, maybe lost in their phone, lost on social
mm,
media, lost in busy work, lost in so many things that they would be. They just turn around and say, yeah, yeah, good, good, carry on. I heard this so many times. I would go and tell, I did interviews of over 100 parents and ask them, how do you appreciate your child?
mm,
We say good, 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 good. And then good, good is a whole thing. Where
mm.
when you want to appreciate the child, the only thing you're saying is good, good. And that's how
Good,
good
good.
came about. That as long the child is good, and
Yeah,
what can they do to make the child good and in the right direction?
yeah.
And if it is, then of course, it's time for piggy bank, where you unlock pocket money when you're good. And that's how parents do it, right? Achhe bache
Mm,
ko, so you will get this. And how do you define acha bacha? And I ask this to a lot many parents. What is a good kid to you?
mm,
And the answers are very simple. He doesn't make noise, she eats on time, they sleep on. The very basic expectations that parents have.
yeah,
Of very simple day. For my father, a good I would be good if I'm waking up early.
yeah.
I'm sleeping on time. And that's till date. It is true for him. So it came on simple habits that make a good life. And that's
So
where
the
we
so the interesting part is neither the parents grow up nor the children grow up. We all remain the same. Our parents tell us the same thing. You should wake up early, you should sleep in
really
time.
want you to have good habits, right? Piggy became therefore a piggy bank and a
Mm.
habit builder where you would learn and earn. So that
Ah,
you
a
want a
piggy
pocket.
bank and a habit builder. So tell us a concept for all those people who are listening to you for the first time. They might not be aware of the concept that you have introduced, the gift that you have offered to the world. What is this concept of Good Good Piggy?
Where we believe that, as long as you're willing to give pocket money to your kids, and that should happen early because scientifically, money personality is set by the age of 7. Then if you're starting early, then pocket money definitely should be a learn and earn space where,
Mm,
as long as you're building good habits, learning good things, becoming a good kid, you're unlocking pocket money, a very common offline behavior, which we just moved online.
mm,
And once you unlock that pocket money, it opens up the fact that you start learning money management. Now, with this pocket money, you can save, you can budget, you can, understand that even spending online is real spending, invest, co-invest with your parent, donate, and overall understand the entire money management equation digitally, because the future of money is digital and that's how you're supposed to use it. I realize that money experiences with cash and digital are very different. And to my nephew or to the new generation, I'd like them to learn it digitally because, we're not going back on cash. Look at the world. There's so many cashless economies, and India today is a very, very, very big cashless economy.
very progressive economy when it comes to cashless.
Etc. We are giving out to different worlds altogether. So,
Mm,
where that is a good side, there is a lopsided effect, which I'm happy to balance for the world with my
mm,
innovation. That is, make sure that children are adapt to understanding how to
Mm.
handle this equation digitally,
Yeah,
and during the process become good kids, whatever the
yeah,
definition is for
yeah,
parenting.
yeah. Good kids. And also, as I'm listening to you, Purva, I remember our first conversation, and when we spoke about this concept, I love the concept because you use this word called future ready. The question that we need to ask ourselves as parents, as parents of niece and nephew, are our children future ready? Right? What's the relationship that your children have with money? What kind of impression are you giving to your children about their association with money and what money can do or what it cannot do? Are we providing the necessary grounding, the values beneath money? Is it just a way to buy anything just because I've got money? Or as you mentioned, am I learning what it means to be money? If money is energy, then can I utilize that for the benefit, for the service of others? Purva, during our conversation, I still remember that you were enjoying dosa and I was bothering you with all my stupid questions. And then you laughed. I still remember your smile. You mentioned that Gaurav, Purva is different for the world and she's very different in her family and for her friends. Tell me the two sides of Purva that people in the outside world may not be aware of. Would love to hear from you.
Well, I think the outside world sees a very interesting, ambitious Purva who's a go-getter, etc. There is a nut which gets cracked and loose when you're home ground with your people, because that's the balance, right? There is a yin and yang, and you need to have both, otherwise you're overconsumed. The fact that, quality relationships are a place where you can unwind and just be senseless also helps you become, I think, sensible in the day, or in in the right company. So I definitely maintain that balance. There are those people who in my life who always say, if we make a video and we make it public, people will never imagine it will go viral. This is a element side of Purva as well. And to be fair, I think is very important. Otherwise, you get overconsumed, right? And I think those relationships, very good uh, personal space and stable relationships, give you that foundation to to face a lot of externalities in your life. And a lot of it is, this is my secret toolkit, I would say, apart from your own spiritual practices or affirmative practices that keep you on a positive level and keep balancing you. So I think it's very important, and definitely you were right to catch this, right? And the fact that people should not over idealize. There are both sides to everybody, and as long as you are on the front, strong, and going ahead, marching forward, I think it's great. It's good to keep both sides active.
Yeah, yeah. And just for the benefit of the people who are listening to you right now, Purva, I would love to let them know that the Purva that you are listening to, she got introduced to the world of meditation, spirituality, silence, gratitude, shukrana, the values that you get from your family very early in her life. And why did I ask you so many questions around your family, your parents, your mom and dad is because in all our conversation, I've heard so much of gratitude that you have to express for your parents. And if this podcast could be one of the instruments to share your tribute to them, why not? So thank you so much, Purva. Loved our conversation, loved the rigor that you bring in, loved the courage, the boldness, the entrepreneurial streak that you bring in everything that you do, be it dialing the just dial and earning $100, all going to VCs and getting the funding for your organization. Anything else that you may want to share as the last message with all the entrepreneurs, irrespective of the gender, irrespective of the nationality, irrespective of the age that they are into?
Yeah.
What would be the last chapter of your book that you will be writing?
I don't know what that would be, on what topic it would be, etc. But I think it's a long way. Life has just started for me. I don't know what I still don't believe that there is that, life changing moment or etc. just still happen. I still feel it's a long narrative. And I remember hearing this from you, right? In the end, you would like to write, and that is something that I heard from you, that whatever happened, it was a great journey, right? Maza
Yeah.
bahut, and you have absolute the end for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think looking forward to that, right? And if at all any entrepreneur is listening for that key giveaway,
Mm,
my only key giveaway would be, I see a lot many entrepreneurs who are doing so many things, right? Trying to make things easy, convenient, etc. I think overall, I just want them to pause and, once reflect that is
mm,
there a larger good
mm,
that you give back to society? And if there is, and the answer is yes, and you are able to build that story for you, then there is no stopping. Then you have to have resilience because there is a larger mission to life. And I
mm.
think that larger mission will always keep you going, irrespective.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And as I told you, right, on my epitaph, it would be written Shukrana. And below that, the tagline would be Maza Bada Aaya Yaar. So thank you, Purva. Such a pleasure having you here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for inviting me and for sharing the chance to speak to your audience and to, tell my tale to them. I'm very, very happy. Thank you, everybody else, for listening.